No more is Kamla saying the rich need to get richer so the poor can take themselves out of poverty. But Kamla Persad-Bissessar is actually extending an olive branch and a helping hand to the poor in Trinidad and Tobago. But, and somebody now say I'm still so misinformed. Am I wrong right now, director? Like you're how old again? 22, right? And you see differently with Kamla Persad-Bissessar's administration, right? Because I really not understanding some people in Trinidad, you know. The previous administration was telling you the world of things, buffing up the media, raising gas prices, not fixing roads, doing the most. Keith Rowley was on TV saying the rich had to get richer while the poor take themselves out of poverty. Well, anyway, and ironically, it is Keith Christopher Rowley that started the notion of dancing with Nicolas Maduro. And I don't think I want to go into the whole issue as to why and what and draw it down, but it is Keith Christopher Rowley that would have done anything for Nicolas Maduro. Anything. Kamla Persad-Bissessar messaging change, you know. And let me start there. Kamla Persad-Bissessar's message has not changed. She has always been telling Nicolas Maduro to, hey, you hold your corner and we'll hold our corner. All right? With the whole issue of Guyana, Kamla was the one that defended Guyana and said, touch one, touch all. This happened in 2023. Touch one, touch all. Kamla Persad-Bissessar. A lot of persons said, oh God, Kamla, you're mad. You're mad. Them bigger than we smaller than them. What you feel you're doing, you're putting my life at risk, blah, blah, blah. You ever hear, you know, take me back to the ad. Mommy, why you risking my life? That ad, Rel's like, no. But that ad, right? That is Trinidadians today. Kamla Persad-Bissessar's message have not changed. It is the same. Kamla's stance on Venezuela ain't changed. Kamla is not against Venezuelans coming to Trinidad and Tobago. She's against drug trafficking. She's against drug pushers. That is what she's against. So when the Caribbean is upset with Kamla Persad-Bissessar because she chooses to align with the United States, I ask, okay, who we supposed to align with? We supposed to remain a zone of peace? Pull up the picture again. Is this a zone of peace, Trinidad and Tobago? Look at the rates. Is this a zone of peace? Jamaica murder toll or homicide rate, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad, St. Lucia. Is this a zone of peace? Is this what we mean by peace? How can you tell me you are comfortable in the Caribbean living like this, living in fear? Crime is escalating in the Caribbean. And why is crime escalating in the Caribbean? Simply because the leaders that we have in the Caribbean refuse to stand for something. And I like the saying, stand for something or fall for anything. And Kamla Persad-Bissessar is standing for something and is falling for nothing. This Kamla 2.0 is doing exactly what is needed to be done to set Trinidad and Tobago up for progress and set Trinidad for progression and for us to become a prospering nation. In order for us to become a prospering nation, we need to be able to deal with the issues of the day. And Venezuela is an issue. It's an issue because of the drugs and their close proximity to Trinidad and Tobago, or specifically to Trinidad. It has been a drug-pushing nation for Trinidad, a guns-pushing nation for Trinidad, a human trafficking-pushing nation for Trinidad. How do we deal with it, Trinidad and Tobago? Tell me. Well, one thing that you would never hear from those that bad talk Trinidad and Tobago or bad talk Kamla Persad-Bissessar is how we deal with it. That's what you'd never hear. So, there's a blogger that disrespected Kamla Persad-Bissessar, said that she don't know what she's doing. She technically senile. He said the worst about Kamla. And then if you scroll in the comments, it's Trini saying, I agree. Take a listen.
This is what you end up with when you have people who make decisions or go along with somebody else's plans without even thinking ahead of the repercussions it would have. Because make no mistake, everything you do have consequences. And clearly, the Trinidad and Tobago government did not think about the consequences of the fishermen who use this method to make a daily living. Many of them are now stuck ashore. Of course, the Coast Guard would have told them don't go anything 2 miles off. I know fishermen right here in St. Vincent, a lot of them, at least over 30 of them, who stopped gone in the southwest part of the Caribbean Sea because that's where they used to get their tuna and stuff. They have just stopped because they say they don't know what to do if they go out there and something just go astray. I mean, they can't be walking with a white flag every day saying we are fishermen. After all, Trump had laughed to say that and even fishing boats are on the sea anymore. And he was happy to basically say that destroy the livelihoods of Caribbean fishermen. So, but this is what happens when you have that picture you're looking at is what happens when you have leadership that does not think before they're doing stuff. Look, residents of seaside communities along Trinidad's east coast say recent reports of U.S. naval vessels operating nearby have sparked concern, hoping that any military activity remains far from their homes. This is from the Guardian newspaper on Sunday. Of course, you had four vessels, the USS Stockdale, the USS Les Jima, USS Gravely, and the USS Lake Erie were reported in the area, of course, between Trinidad and Barbados, with at least one appearing off Trinidad's east coast. Remember, I showed you that picture yesterday of how these things are now lined out in the Caribbean. Speaking with Guardian Media, fisher folk from Serbia said they had not seen military vessels firsthand, but are exercising caution regarding how far and how often they venture out to sea. So right away, you see livelihoods being destroyed, people not showing when to go, where to go, how far to go. If it's just bacchanal, back and forth, and this is people's livelihood. These are fishermen, legitimate fishermen talking about here. I'm talking about people who go on a jog run. One fisherman who requested anonymity said a police patrol warned them yesterday not to venture beyond their usual fishing zone. Right? If a policeman can come and tell you something like that, you would try and heed it, he said, adding that he had already been cautious after hearing stories of encounters with military vessels. Well, he actually to the Guardian media recounted one unverified incident where I think he said local fishermen were reportedly confronted by U.S. military personnel near an offshore oil rig about 29 miles offshore. And he said, I heard a rumor that a military boat boarded a boat off the rig, ransacked it, and left. They said this was U.S. military, he stated. And so the fisherman said the presence of military vessels basically has led many in the community to avoid venturing far into waters. Like I said, in St. Vincent right here, you have fishermen who would have gone out in the southwest Caribbean Sea. What they do out there is basically they go for tuna. So they go out far for deep sea fishing. They don't do it anymore because it's just difficult with the situation that is around the Caribbean region right now. So livelihoods have been destroyed and war has not even begun. And livelihoods have already been destroyed. So this is a matter of grave concern. I think it should be for all. You go up and down the coast, and I'm sure you'll see a lot of boats on land with little to no activity. Many of them only go out from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and avoid fishing after dark. It's too dangerous when visibility is poor and anyone could mistake you for something you're not. And so they said, despite these concerns, Raja Maraj, a lifelong fisherman off Toko, said he had not seen any U.S. vessel off the East Coast and suggested reports may have been confused with sighting elsewhere around Trinidad. So some are saying that they have seen, some are saying that they have not seen. It's just a matter of wait and see, really, as to what's going on. Life has continued as normal for seaside communities since the U.S. military began operations in September, he said. So that's what another fisherman saying. Things have continued as normal. Nevertheless, other fishers claim to have observed burnt wreckage and debris in offshore waters. Kerry Arthur, who's a local businessman in Toko, noted that while his bar and mini mart have not yet been directly affected, reduced activity among fisher folk could ripple through what you call the local economy. So there is problems. There is going to be problems further down the line. And so it seems like fishermen have been very cautious and they're not going far and it's hampering their catch really. That affects spending in the community. That is what happens. So we will see how this goes and we will look at more of these issues in another video.
Yeah. There's people that not from Trinidad, and I find out you're from St. Vincent, St. Lucia, St. Vincent. Click the, let me see the rate again, the homicide rate. I think St. Vincent was which part on the homicide rate? St. Vincent and the Grenadines is second on the homicide rate in the world. All right? maybe come back. Maybe you should stick talking to about your affairs before we move on to Trinidad affairs, because boy, it couldn't be further from the truth. Some pointers there, all right? Quote, the leadership that do not think before they speak, is what he said, referring to Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Livelihoods are being destroyed, secondly, all right? And that, I'm guessing, that he's speaking about is the fishermen down at Cedros. And then he spoke about the police officers, the police, so, meaning the Coast Guard, saying do not venture beyond fishing zone. That's fair, right, Director? You think that's fair to tell a fisherman, don't venture beyond his fishing zone, don't go into international waters to fish? Because if you get captured on international waters, who's supposed to help you? And then he said, well, do not go into Venezuelan waters, is what I wrote here, because, I mean, if you're fishing, you need to go and fish in Venezuelan waters. But anyway, while saying all of the negatives, you didn't mention that the Coast Guard of Venezuela gave chase to Trinidadians in our own water before the Trinidadian Coast Guard gave chase or protected our own Trinidadians right here in Trinidad and Tobago. Because the same media that you're quoting is the same media that put out that information. I'm not understanding that Kamla Persad-Bissessar, she's a fool because she not thinking before she speak apparently. I think Kamla Persad-Bissessar gave the most sober releases, press conferences. She gave the most sober releases yet. Telling Trinidadians not to worry. That is thinking before speaking. I don't have information about a war. There's no war. That is thinking before speaking. She's not pushing propaganda. Help me understand some of the propagandas that Kamla pushed so far. What did Kamla Persad-Bissessar say thus far that is leading Trinidad and Tobago into war, or allowing or urging Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro to be responding this much? Because he is responding to everything Kamla didn't say. But before I move on, I'm going to make sure and correct your wrongs, because you're a journalist and you have plenty wrongs. Trinidad and Tobago's own fishermen, we on this side, in this Caribbean island, you know, who feels it, knows it, and we feel it here in Trinidad and Tobago. Maybe that's why our economy is a little better than yours, but we feel it here in Trinidad and Tobago. In Trinidad and Tobago, our fishermen were chased by the Venezuelan Coast Guard. Our fishermen have been at the ransom of pirates out at sea. PNM, nothing about it. UNC, something about it. The people that you say don't think before they talk, before they speak, yeah, they are the ones. Kamla Persad-Bissessar doing something about it. And she said to our fishermen, why are you fishing out in Venezuelan waters? If it is you get captured doing illegal stuff out at sea, then you're fending for yourself. Don't go on Ian Allen and cry about it or complain about it. But anyway, for your information, this is the same media that you're quoting from.
Cedros fishermen are speaking out after being chased by Venezuela's Guardia Nacional in Trinidad's territorial waters earlier today. It is why some of them say they're finding comfort in the arrival of U.S. warship USS Gravely, which is scheduled to dock in Port of Spain tomorrow.
Now, while some residents are curious about the naval visit, others find it even more interesting that students from their area were invited to tour the warship next Monday. Radhika De Silva and Ivan Tulsi visited Cedros today for this story.
Fisherfolk at Fullerton Village, Cedros, say they're still being chased by Venezuela's Coast Guard in territorial waters, with the latest run-in taking place at dawn on Friday.
Them guys went to the sea fish this morning while fishing. One of these Venezuelan Coast Guard come out and run apparently about 4 boats. Run them from down there. Come up straight into Trinidad waters, they run them. All on top in Trinidad waters, they run them there. Thank God the Trinidad Coast Guard was passing at the same time and see what was going on.
It's why some fishermen find comfort in the planned arrival of the U.S. warship, which is scheduled to dock on Sunday. And while some may fear the possibility of war, others say the American soldiers could be of help.
So, with the American Coast Guard now could assist the fishermen. Right now the fishermen need our help.
Yet still, they're
Just so therefore you know. Just so therefore you know.